Welcome to UIXTalk, Origination, and Personas. The focus of this course will be an app for those who want to redesign a room within the home. As a reminder, the process we're about to go over can be applied in a product development cycle. After having a general idea of focus, like the Room Designer app, I personally like to bullet list out features that could be included within the product of focus. When thinking about this list, I have no restrictions and really want to brain dump my ideas. If the idea is outside of technical limitations, still document your thoughts, because this is where you can stamp an idea and version it as a forward-thinking enhancement. Example, the feature of scanning the dimensions of a room with no limitations would go something like, as a user, I want to be able to map a room through sonar abilities within my smart device, listening to the room and capturing the sound feedback to then render my 3D environment. This feature may be out of scope for some time of the current planning cycle, but we can still log that as a feature enhancement, which will allow for some time to research, test, and validate. Now that we have a long-term goal, our short-term can be, as a user, I want my phone's camera to capture the dimensions of the room and generate a 3D model based on the visual feedback. This feature may fall more in scope with the technical limitations of the market. I'm going to also include the next 3 items within this bullet list to make things a little interesting. With our items selected, let's create a use case. A use case is a scenario in the product you are currently developing. If you are working within the tech industry, you may have or will come across use cases. These are typically reserved for product owners, otherwise known as POs, to generate, maintain, and track. The use case is your starter for generating stories, another common method to track work within the product roadmap. This is a very top-level example of use cases, user story, and acceptance criteria. All 3 items here will go hand in hand throughout the current iteration's goals set forth that complete objectives set by the product owner within a set planning cycle or time frame. Here you can see we have our use case being room, scan, style, and order products. The user story is, as a user, I want to be able to create a 3D copy of my room, provide me with options based on my learned personal style, and provide ability to order items populated based on the app recommendation. The acceptance criteria is, user has ability to scan room with phone camera and render 3D model. App will render new design based on user learnings. User will have the ability to place orders of items populated. To mark this story as complete, we will need to meet the items logged within the acceptance criteria. If we are unable to complete all items within the acceptance criteria during the end of the cycle and review phase, the PO will decide on what items should be added to a backlog or push into the next cycle for continued work. This is an area in which teams can accumulate debt, which are uncompleted items that stack up and overall could delay a release date. All this will become more clear once you start working within teams that follow a software development methodology. All companies and teams follow similar processes but tend to tweak depending on a number of factors. So, my suggestion is whenever starting at a new company and/or team, make sure to voice the need for any and all documentation, trainings, and/or questions to help your understanding. A popular method used today is Scrum. To learn more about Scrum, you can visit scrum.org. Link in the description. Now, let's talk personas. A persona is a user-centered design method to help better understand the audience projected to be used in the product you are designing for. The Nielsen Group has a great one-pager talking to personas. Link in the description. Personas are based on user research, and one great way to collect persona data is through surveys. Another method is more personal, informational interviews. After collecting data, we can create a persona. Keep in mind when collecting data for persona generation is that they should not be a one-to-one match, but based on a number of individuals, then generalized for broader reach. I will be focusing on 2 personas, the first being Mika and the second, Joseph. Persona cards can be created in a number of ways. Within my persona cards, I wanted to capture some personalization relating to the user, so I included a mood board section here that includes an image and some color variations that match the user and their focus, along with frustrations and needs and general information of the user. After completing my persona cards, I wanted to also create an empathy map for further insight into my users. Empathy maps are great to build further insight into your users of focus. The Nielsen Group has a great one-pager explaining empathy maps. Link in description. You will also find in the description of this video a template of a persona card and empathy map that can be printed out or used in digital format based on what was shown in this video. That concludes today's UIXTalk, Origination, and Personas. Questions, comments, like, follow, share, and thank you for joining me in creating tomorrow.